Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into, well, a pretty audacious claim today. We're looking at sources that basically say getting rich isn't luck or talent alone, but an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. And they claim if you follow the rules, failure is impossible.
It sounds like wild exaggeration, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that absolute certainty is, I think, why these ideas have stuck around. It's framed as a pragmatic manual. Very direct, not really philosophy for its own sake. It's for people who want results and are, well, willing to take the conclusions on faith, at least initially, like a scientific hypothesis.
Right, test it yourself.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive, what are we trying to pull out of this?
Our goal is really to extract the core principles. The system hinges on a massive mental shift, moving completely away from seeing the world as competitive towards a purely creative mindset. And we'll dig into the foundation for that, this idea of one thinking substance and, critically, the daily practice needed, especially the law of gratitude.
Okay, foundation first. Unlike a lot of modern stuff that jumps straight to hacks and techniques, this starts deep, metaphysical. So what is this philosophical bedrock that supposedly makes it all work?
It all rests on the monistic theory of the universe. Everything flows from this one core idea.
Monistic theory. Okay, sounds a bit academic. Let's break that down. What does monism mean in this specific context for getting rich?
In simple terms, it means unity, oneness. The sources say there's only one original substance. It's thinking, it's formless, and everything else. I mean, everything is made from it.
Everything we see and touch.
Exactly. And this substance isn't just passive stuff. It's intelligent, it's alive, and this is crucial. It's always inherently pushing towards more life, fuller expression it wants to create.
Always towards more. So it's generative by nature, not limited?
Precisely. Scarcity in this view isn't fundamental, it's a perception.
Okay, if that's the case, one universal thinking creative substance, then where do we fit in as individuals? Why aren't things just popping into existence all the time?
Well, the human mind plays a unique role. We're described as thinking centers. We can originate thought. And the mechanism proposed is this. When you form a clear, definite mental image of what you want.
Really specific.
Yes, very specific. And hold it with focus. You impress that thought onto this formless substance. Because the substance is intelligent and always seeking increase, it has to respond by creating the physical form of your thought. Your mind is essentially the blueprint.
Wow, okay. That idea that this substance responds directly to our focused thought, it changes everything about aspiration, doesn't it? And the sources use this to make a really radical claim about our rights.
They do. It leads to the assertion that every person has an inalienable right to all the development they're capable of, mentally, spiritually, physically, full expression.
Like right to full development.
And immediately, that right becomes a kind of duty. Because to truly unfold your potential, your talents, your soul, well, you need resources, you need things.
Things which cost money.
Right, so the science of getting rich isn't presented as just being about accumulating stuff. It's positioned as the fundamental basis for all advancement, for becoming who you're meant to be.
That completely flips the script on, traditional views of wealth and spirituality sometimes. And this is where I think it gets really controversial for some. The idea that being content with less than you're capable of enjoying is, what was the word used? Sinful.
That's the term used, yes.
Yeah.
But it's important to understand the context. Not sinful like religious damnation, more like going against the fundamental impulse of nature, of the universe itself.
How so?
Well, if the driving force of everything is increase, more life, fuller expression, then deliberately choosing limitation or accepting poverty when you desire more is seen as denying that universal purpose trying to express through you. So the desire for wealth shifts from maybe a selfish urge to a kind of moral necessity for growth. Okay, heavy stuff. So we've got the philosophical frame, monism, and the moral driver, the right or even duty to be rich for full development.
Yeah.
Now let's get practical. What's the mental toolkit? What do you actually do to become this thinking center that creates?
Right, the how-to. The very first step is developing the ability to think in a certain way. And that means forming a clear and definite mental picture of what you desire.
Not just a vague wish.
No, absolutely not. I want to be rich is too fuzzy. It has to be a detailed image of what you want to have, what you want to do, who you want to become. The clearer, the better.
And just having the picture isn't enough, right? What else needs to be there?
Behind that clear vision, there must be two things. Fixed purpose, the unwavering intention to get it, and unwavering faith.
Faith that it will happen.
Even stronger.
Yeah.
Faith that it is already yours, or at least on its way to you right now.
It's this concept of mental ownership. You have to occupy that reality mentally before it shows up physically.
That sounds incredibly difficult. I mean, maintaining unwavering faith when your bank account, your current circumstances are maybe screaming the opposite. How do you bridge that gap?
Exactly. That's the core challenge. And this is why the sources elevate gratitude to such a high importance. It's presented as the key daily practice.
Gratitude. Okay, on the surface, that sounds a bit like standard positive thinking advice. How does the system claim it's more than that? How is it a scientific force?
It's explained through the principle of action and reaction, like physics almost.
Action and reaction. How?
Think of it like this. Gratitude is the action. When you consistently, genuinely feel and express thankfulness for what you have now and for the good that is coming, you're consciously sending out a positive force, a liberation of spiritual energy, you could say. It's described as the most powerful way to tune your mind, your frequency, to the creative source substance.
Okay, so gratitude is the outward action, the signal you send. What's the corresponding reaction from the universe or the substance?
The reaction, according to the text, is an instantaneous movement towards you within that formless substance. The things you are thinking about, the resources, the opportunities, the right people, they are compelled to move in your direction. Being grateful literally puts you in receiving mode. You're affirming the supply is infinite, you're acknowledging the power is working, and you're expecting good.
What's really fascinating there is the connection made between gratitude and faith. The sources say faith is born of gratitude, not the other way around.
Exactly. It's a crucial point. If you cultivate a truly grateful mind, you are constantly focusing on the good, on increase. This naturally crowds out fear, doubt, worry about lack. A grateful mind expects good things, and that constant, unwavering expectation becomes faith. Gratitude is essentially the mental factory where faith is manufactured.
It's a mechanism for building certainty internally, regardless of external appearances.
Precisely. Which leads us right into the biggest dangers, the things that can derail this whole process, the hindrances.
If gratitude is the shield, what's the main sword that cuts through it? What's the most destructive way of thinking?
Without a doubt, it's dropping into the competitive mindset. The moment you do that, the power to create is said to be lost. Instantly.
Why? Because competition assumes scarcity.
Yes. Competition is based on the idea that there's a limited pie and you have to fight someone else for your slice. If you start worrying that supply is limited or getting anxious about what competitors are doing or fretting about monopolies or bankers controlling things,
You're fundamentally denying the core premise you started with, that the source is infinite and responds to your thought.
exactly, you're cutting yourself off from the creative power. Looking at someone else's success with envy or fear, instead of seeing it as proof the system works, shifts you immediately onto the competitive plane. And doing so can apparently even stop creative forces you've already set in motion.
Okay, avoid competition. What else? There was something about appearances.
Yes, this is tough but critical. You must think the truth, regardless of appearances. The sources are very direct. If you constantly look at and dwell upon the appearance of poverty or sickness or limitation, whether in your own life or in the world, you create those forms in your own mind.
And since the substance takes the form of your dominant thoughts,
You end up attracting more of what you're focusing on, the negative appearances. So you have to consciously refuse to fill your mind with images of lack or gloomy news reports, even when they seem pervasive. The grateful mind stays fixed on the best.
that takes serious mental discipline, which brings up willpower. How does willpower fit into this? It's not about forcing things externally, is it?
No, that's a vital distinction. Willpower is essential, but it must be used only upon yourself. Meaning, you use your will intensely to compel yourself to think the right thoughts, to maintain the vision, to choose gratitude over doubt, and crucially, to act in the right way. But any attempt to use your willpower outwardly to try and coerce other people, control circumstances directly, manipulate markets, or force someone to do what you want, that's considered counterproductive. Foolish, even.
So, trying to use this science to, say, mentally dominate a business rival or force a sale that breaks the rules?
Completely. It shifts you right back into the competitive scarcity mindset and cuts off the creative flow. Willpower is for self-mastery, for managing your own mind and actions. The creative method is about attracting, not compelling.
Attraction, not coercion.
Okay.
That internal focus is clear, but the sources also warn against just sitting around thinking, right, thought alone isn't enough.
Absolutely not. This is a major stumbling block. The failure to connect thought with personal action is called the rock upon which many scientific metaphysical thinkers meet shipwreck.
Shipwreck. Dramatic. So how does it work? Thought does one part, action does another.
Kind of. By thought, the desired thing, the opportunity, is brought to you from the formless. But by action, you have to be ready to receive it. You need to prepare the ground, so to speak, in your current reality.
So you can't just visualize $1 million and wait for it to fall from the sky while doing nothing?
Definitely not. Action must be taken now, starting immediately. And it must be taken upon the people and things in your present environment, whatever that is.
Not waiting for the perfect situation or job?
No. The instruction is, do every day all that can be done that day, and do it in a perfectly successful manner.
Perfectly successful. What does that mean? Not necessarily huge, world-changing actions.
Not at all. It's about efficiency, not volume. Success, in this context, depends less on how many things you do and more on the efficiency of each separate action. Every single act, no matter how mundane, needs to be a success in itself.
Okay, let's make that concrete. If my big vision is, say, running a huge company, but right now I'm flipping burgers, how do I make flipping that burger a perfectly successful act?
You perform that task, flipping the burger, serving the customer, cleaning the grill while holding your grand vision in mind, with the fixed purpose to achieve it. With the unwavering faith that you're on the way, you pour your full mental power into that simple act. You make that specific act strong and efficient. Because if you allow yourself to do even one task poorly or inefficiently, thinking this doesn't matter, it's beneath me, that habit of inefficiency infects everything.
So every single action, no matter how small, must be infused with the power of the vision, faith, and purpose, making each action a building block for the larger goal.
Exactly. You make future success inevitable by making every present action a success.
And this leads to the final, really practical piece of action advice, the principle of increase. This seems crucial for keeping things creative, not competitive.
It is. This is like the golden rule for how you act. In every single transaction, every interaction, you must aim to give the other person more in-use value than you receive from them in cash value.
More use value than cash value. Okay, break that down. Use value is the actual benefit they get.
Precisely. So if you sell someone a service for $50, that's the cash value. The actual help, the result, the convenience, the positive experience they get from that service, the use value, should feel like it's worth more than $50 to them. You're not just exchanging goods or services for money. You are consciously contributing to the other person's life, making them richer in some way through their interaction with you.
So it's about ensuring every deal genuinely makes life better for both parties. You advance yourself by advancing others.
Yes, it ensures you're always operating from a place of creation and abundance, never zero-sum competition. You become a center of increase. And the sources say, if you consistently operate this way, you start to convey an impression of increase in everything you do, your actions, your tone, even your presence.
And people are drawn to that.
Naturally, people are inherently drawn to sources of growth and benefit. They'll want to do business with you, connect with you, because they know they'll get more life, more value by associating with you. Opportunity flows towards centers of increase without struggle. That's the creative method in action.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this for the listener. It's quite a system. What are the absolute must-haves?
It really boils down to a necessary combination, a synergy of three things. First, the deep intellectual and maybe even spiritual commitment to that monistic idea, unwavering faith that there's one intelligent, infinite source you can impress your thoughts upon.
Okay, the foundation of faith.
Second, continuous active gratitude. Seeing it not just as a feeling, but as a spiritual force that keeps your mind tuned correctly, keeps you expecting good, and crucially, blocks out that destructive competitive thinking.
Faith built on gratitude. And the third piece.
Third, effective action. Done now, in the present moment, focused on your current environment, and making every single action efficient and successful by infusing it with your vision and faith. And always operating by that principle of increase, giving more in use value than you receive in cash value.
Faith, gratitude, and efficient action for mutual increase.
That's the core formula, as presented.
If we take these sources at their word, that getting rich truly is an exact science based on this internal creative power, not external competition. Well, the implications are pretty staggering, aren't they?
They're completely radical. I mean, the text even suggests that if just a few thousand employees in a huge company started really living and acting this way, holding the vision, being grateful, giving more use value in their roles.
Conveying that impression of increase.
Right. The claim is the organization itself would almost be forced to provide them with more opportunity, more advancement. Or those individuals would simply attract better opportunities elsewhere, and the old, rigid, competitive structures would be left behind. The talent, the energy moves towards increase.
So the final thought, maybe the challenge for you listening, is this. What if it's true? What if wealth creation is primarily an inside game of aligning with creative force rather than an outside game of battling over limited resources? What happens when more people start acting from that center of increase, focusing on advancing themselves by advancing others? How quickly would the world, or at least your world, have to reorganize itself around that creative energy? That's definitely something to chew on.